My neighbor John has a yellow lab named Moose. He's 11. Moose is big gray muzzle, moves a little slow in the mornings, still acts like it's his yard, which it basically is. Last Saturday, I was standing at the fence, and Moose walked over to me deliberate and unhurried, dropped his nose right to the back of my hand. And before Moose had a chance to finish whatever he was doing, John reached past me and scratched his ears. I didn't say anything, but I thought Moose was in the middle of a sentence. Here's what I've come to believe, after years of reading everything I can find about how dogs actually process the world. Your dog has been trying to talk to you since the day you brought them home. Not in some loose, they love you way, in a specific, observable, scientifically documented way. And most of us, I'm including myself for the first decade I had dogs, have been accidentally talking over them without ever realizing it. That's what today is. 5 things your dog is saying right now, the science behind each one, and 1 thing you can do differently starting today. The last one is the one that took me the longest to understand. Number 1, the stare down. You come home to a chewed pillow, or your dog does something they know they shouldn't. And the natural, deeply human instinct is to find them, look them in the eye, and let them know you're not happy. I've done this. Most of us have. Here's what's actually happening in that moment. The second your dog turns their head away from you, or looks at the floor, or licks their lips, or lets out a big slow yawn, that is not guilt. That is not defiance. That is a word, a specific documented word that dogs inherited from their wild ancestors and have been using between themselves for as long as we can measure. The Norwegian dog trainer Turid Rugaas spent decades cataloging what she called calming signals, the vocabulary canids used to de-escalate tension and signal that they are not a threat. The head turn, the lip lick, the yawn, they are the equivalent of a dog holding up both hands and quietly saying, "Hey, we're okay. I am not a threat to you." Direct, prolonged eye contact, a stare, is the exact opposite of those calming signals. In most mammals, it signals challenge. It says, "I have not looked away, and I am still here." So when your dog does something wrong and you lock eyes with them, what you are saying in their language is, "I am challenging you." And what they are desperately trying to say back, with every avoidance, every lip lick, every averted gaze, is, "I hear you. I am not fighting back. I am not fighting back." Here's what I want to be honest about. Once I understood this, the whole dynamic changed. Not because I stopped having boundaries, but because I stopped having the wrong conversation. 3 things you can do instead. Use a neutral voice. Not happy, not low and threatening, just clear. Turn your body slightly sideways. That alone removes the confrontational read. And redirect them immediately to something they can succeed at. A sit, a come, anything with a right answer. Give them a task and move forward together. One exception worth naming. A puppy still learning the rules does need clear communication that something went wrong. The answer isn't silence. It's delivering that message without using confrontational eye contact as the delivery method. Every time your dog has given you that slow yawn or that slow head turn, they were saying something. Now you know what it was. Number 2, the interrupted check-in dogs have approximately 300 million olfactory receptor cells. Humans have around 6 million. That ratio, roughly 50-1, is not a small difference. It means that when your dog drops their nose to your hand or your knee or your ankle when you walk in the door, they are reading something so specific and detailed that we genuinely don't have an analogy for it. We see, they smell, in a way that is closer to reading a long letter than sniffing a flower. What they are reading, the cortisol. That's your stress hormone. The subtle shifts in your cortisol and adrenaline. The lingering chemical footprint of whatever stress you just walked through the door with. Research published in recent years from a team at Queen's University Belfast confirmed that dogs can accurately identify stress in human breath and sweat, not as a vague "something feels off," but as a specific chemical signature they can pick out reliably. Alexandra Horowitz, who runs the Dog Cognition Lab at Columbia University and has written more clearly about canine olfaction than almost anyone, describes a dog's nose as a kind of time machine. It doesn't just tell them what something is. It tells them what something was a few hours ago and what it's becoming. So when your dog walks over and holds their nose near your hand, this is real data collection. And when you immediately move to pet them, you have taken the letter away before they finished the first paragraph. Here is what to do. Hold your hand still. Let them sniff as long as they need. You'll know they're finished when they lift their head, or shift their weight, or look up at you. That is them saying, okay, I have what I needed. Now we can be together. I think about the days when something genuinely hard happened, the kind of thing that sits in your chest all afternoon and doesn't say why. My Chihuahua Noodle, who has no concept of a phone call or a piece of bad news, would come and press himself against my leg and just stay there because he'd read the chemistry of what that afternoon had done to me, and he'd decided what to do with that information. They've been saying, let me finish. 30 seconds of stillness, that's a remarkably good trade. Number 3, the silent change. Dogs navigate the world through scent and through routine. Not as preference, but as a survival system that evolution spent a very long time building. When you come home, you are walking into a space your dog has mapped through olfactory memory. Who has been there, when, what has shifted since morning. That map is how they know the world is predictable, safe. When you move to a new house, that map disappears overnight. I remember reading a comment once, "Stay with me here," from someone who was relocating and decided, before the move was complete, to take their dog through the old empty house one last time. No furniture, just years of accumulated smell, every corner they'd ever known. And then they walked through the new place the same way, slowly, letting the dog lead, both of them discovering it together for the first time. That person described it as introducing him to his new home instead of depositing him in it. That is instinctually correct. That is a dog who got to say, I understand this place now. Let's go. 3 changes that hit dogs hard, and what to do with each. First, moving to a new house. Give them time in the space before the chaos of boxes and furniture. Walk the perimeter. Let them find the corners and the windows and the back door. Their nose needs to do its work before their nervous system can settle. Second, new or departing family members. When someone joins or leaves the household, a baby, a partner, a kid going off to school, there is a shift in the social scent map. Don't rush the adjustment. Give your dog room to approach new people on their own terms. And third, schedule changes. If your hours shift, or someone who's usually home stops being there, the circadian rhythm your dog has built around your predictability has just moved. If you can, overlap the old schedule with the new one for a few days. The transition will be faster. The truth is, some dogs, especially younger, more adaptable ones, sail through transitions without missing a beat. If yours is like that, none of this is a reason to worry. But for the dog who goes quiet or paces, or stops eating for a day after something changes, that's what they're saying. I don't have my map. Help me rebuild it. Number 4, the permission they never got. This is the one I want to spend the most time on because it is the place where things go wrong in a way that is genuinely hard to undo. Dogs do not communicate in binary. They don't go from fine to aggressive with nothing in between. They go through a sequence, a long, patient, clearly articulated sequence that begins so softly that most owners never catch it, and ends with the only signal loud enough to finally get through. The British veterinary behaviorist Kendall Shepherd documented what she called the ladder of aggression in 2009, a framework now used widely in behavioral science and veterinary training. The bottom rungs of that ladder, the quietest ones, a dog who yawns when you pick up the brush, a dog who licks their lips when a stranger approaches, a dog who turns their head away from someone trying to make eye contact, a dog whose whole body goes very still, a dog who shows the white of their eye and looks for an exit. Above those, the growl, the snap, the bite. Those early signals are words. Each one is a sentence. And this is the trap we all fall into, myself included. When we ignore those sentences, when we push past the yawn and the lip lick, we force them to speak louder. We force them to growl. And here is the tragedy. When they finally growl, we scold them for it. A dog who learns that their final warning gets punished doesn't become calmer. They learn to skip the warning. That is not stubbornness. That is not aggression. That is a dog who tried to tell you in 7 different ways and learned that the only one you'd hear was the one that got them in trouble. 3 situations where this matters constantly. A child who wants to hug. Most dogs tolerate it. Tolerance is not the same as enjoying it. When you see your dog go still or look away, or hold that frozen posture while small arms wrap around them, they are saying, "I am not okay." The right thing to say to the child, not alarmed, just matter of fact, is, "He's telling us he needs a little space right now. Let's give it to him." That sentence is a gift to the child and to the dog. It teaches the child to read, and it teaches the dog that the warning worked. A stranger who wants to pet them. Let your dog make the approach. If they don't approach, that's an answer. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to apologize for it. Grooming and handling. If your dog turns away every time you pick up the brush, or stiffens when you reach for their paws, they're not being difficult. They are asking for something. A slower start, a break, a way to feel less cornered. A few extra minutes of patience here will make this easier for both of you for years. Now, and this matters, there are times when you have to override. A medication has to be given. A vet needs to examine them. A situation is genuinely dangerous, and your dog has to move now. That is real, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. You can do those things kindly, with as much warning as the situation allows, as much gentleness as you can manage, and you repair it afterward with calm and time. The goal isn't that your dog never has a hard moment. The goal is that they still trust you when it's over. They were telling you long before the growl, every lip lick, every averted eye. That's what they sounded like. Number 5. The one who shows up. Moose is 11 years old. His hips bother him when it's cold, and he doesn't run anymore. And John, my neighbor, has had a hard few years. Health stuff, job changes. One of those stretches where life seems to arrive all at once. John is not always his best self out there. He is busy and tired and distracted, the way people get. But every evening, around dusk, John comes out and sits on the back step. And Moose, from wherever he's settled in the yard, gets up, walks over, and lies down next to him. Every evening, 8 years of that ritual, give or take. John doesn't have to be great that night. He just has to be there, in that spot, at that hour. The research that has stayed with me on this is Lisa Horn's work at the University of Vienna, where she found that dogs use their owners the way young children use a secure attachment figure, as a base to explore from, and a place to return to when the world feels like too much. What builds that security is not the best version of you. It is the version of you that keeps showing up in the same way. 3 things worth keeping consistent when life gets hard. The feeding time, even if you're late getting home. The ritual before you leave, whatever yours is, the same words, the same sequence. And the start of the walk, not the length of it, but the way it begins, the feel of you at the other end of the leash. Your dog doesn't need those things to be perfect. They need them to be recognizable. I'm not a vet, and I'm not a trainer. I'm someone who has spent years reading everything I can find because I wanted to be better at this. And I won't tell you consistency is the only thing that matters. But I haven't found anything that matters more. Your dog is not waiting for a better version of you. They are waiting for you, specifically, at the same time, in the same place. That is enough. That has always been enough. Not the best version of you. The most predictable one. The one they can set their whole life by. Moose was in the middle of a sentence, and John reached past and scratched his ears, and Moose let him, because that is what Moose does. But in that moment, there was a word that didn't get heard. Your dog is full of those words. The head turn that says, "Please stop." The stillness at the door that says, "Let me finish." The quiet that says, "I've been trying to tell you something for a while now." And the way they get up every evening and walk to wherever you are, because you are the fixed point their whole world orients around. You have been having a conversation this whole time. You just didn't know what language you were both speaking. What's the signal your dog gives that you're only now starting to understand? Tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to know. I read every one. Go say hi to your dog right now, and I'll see you in the next one.